Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into one of the, hottest topics buzzing around Formula One right now, Aston Martin's recent performance surge. It's undeniable. If you've been keeping up, you've seen the chatter online, the headlines. Everyone's asking, is this real? Is the car fundamentally better, or are we just seeing that legendary Alonso effect really firing on all cylinders? So to really get under the skin of this one, we've pulled together a lot of insights. Mostly we're drawing from some really detailed analysis and discussions over on F1 blogs. They do great work breaking down the data. Our mission today for you is to look past those headlines. Are Aston Martin's updates making the IMR24 truly quicker, or is it mostly Fernando Alonso just doing his thing, wringing every last bit of performance out of it?
Yeah, and what's so fascinating here, I think, is that it's not just about the stopwatches, it's much deeper. It's about understanding that really complex mixed driver skill, the actual car development, and crucially, how they set the car up, the strategy behind it. So we'll be digging into specific race data, looking at what the drivers themselves have said, and even some insights from engineering analyses to really try and get to the bottom of it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right, let's start with the basics. Let's lay out the raw data. Just to set the scene, we really need to focus on Imola onwards, because that's when Aston Martin rolled out that big update package. Okay, so Fernando Alonso, post-updates, Imola. Bit tricky with the safety car, but he was right in the mix, fighting for points, finished P11. Then Monaco, driver track, he looked set for good points, maybe even 7th, before, bad luck struck, mechanical retirement. But then Spain, first points of the season, finally on the board. And Canada, really impressive 7th place, solid 6 points. He's consistently been up there or thereabouts. Okay, now contrast that with Lance Stroll. Same period, same car. He was 15th in Imola, 15th again in Monaco. Spain, qualifying didn't suggest points were likely. And then Canada, his home race, 17th. You can see a pretty clear difference in the results there.
That data certainly paints a picture, doesn't it? A big gap. And it naturally leads to the question, is this difference, this performance gap, is it new since the updates? Or if we zoom out a bit, is it kind of what we've seen, pretty consistently for the whole 2.5 years they've been teammates? Stroll himself even said after Canada, didn't he, that he just didn't feel the car had the pace to move forward. And Andy Cowell, Aston's performance director, he sort of echoed that, saying it was a tough Sunday for Lance and that he needed to learn and improve his feel for the car. So the gap's definitely there, but its existence isn't exactly breaking news post-Imola,
Right, okay, so the gap isn't new. That's a key point. So does that mean this recent jump in performance, these better results, is it just Fernando, as some people are saying, just him working magic? Or is there something more going on? Let's dig into what Fernando himself actually said, because he gave some really interesting thoughts to F1 blogs after Canada. Quite revealing, actually. He basically said that at the start of the year, before Imola, that AMR24 was just incredibly difficult to handle. He used words like inconsistent, wide in one corner, then suddenly snapping with oversteer in the next. The behavior changed lap by lap. His exact words were very confusing. Imagine trying to push flat out in an F1 car when you can't predict what he's going to do next. That's just impossible at the limit.
And that's exactly where his next comment becomes so important. He specifically said, and I'm quoting here, "From Imola with the new package, I think we have achieved a bit more connection between driver and car. And crucially, I can push to the maximum and I can feel what the car needs." See, that's not just about raw pace. It's about confidence, trust. When a driver feels that connection, they know the car won't suddenly bite them. They can lean on it, push right to the edge, brake later, carry more speed, because it's predictable. That predictability lets someone like Alonso, with all his experience, unlock that extra bit without constantly fighting the car or, risking throwing it off the road. So the update definitely helped him feel the car better.
Okay, so the Imola update gave Alonso that confidence boost, that connection, as he put it. Let him spread his wings a bit. But, just feeling more comfortable, more connected. That alone can make a driver faster, right? So the question is, could that feeling, that better driver feel, explain the whole jump? Or are there actual tangible performance gains baked into the car itself now, beyond just making the driver feel good? To figure that out, let's think back just a few races before Imola. Miami. Remember Miami? Aston Martin looked, pretty lost. by most accounts, one of the slowest cars out there. They were really struggling, especially in the slow corners and getting the power down. The traction was just awful.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because suddenly, after Imola, we start seeing Fernando doing things like overtaking purely on traction out of slow corners, like Tosa at Imola. That just wouldn't have happened to Miami. And it wasn't a one-off. Monaco, mostly slow corners, he was quick.
Right.
Barcelona, turn 5, another slow one, looked good there too. And then Canada, another track heavily reliant on traction out of slow chicanes. Boom, his best race of the season.
Yes, that's the key bit for me. A car that was genuinely poor in slow corners and traction is suddenly making up places because of its traction out of those same corners. That feels like more than just driver feel, doesn't it? It points to a real measurable improvement in the car's fundamental performance. Like the car itself is actually better at doing that specific thing now.
A definite step forward in raw capability, not just subjective feel. I agree.
Hang on, there might be another piece to this puzzle, sort of hidden factor, maybe. And it involves a very famous name, Adrian Newey. Now, obviously, he's not designing bits for the Aston Martin yet. That's down the road. But his genius isn't just about drawing shapes, is it?
No, absolutely not. What's fascinating here is Newey's reputation extends to configuring cars, setting them up perfectly. This isn't just basic setup. It's the really fine detail. Suspension, aero balance, diff settings, tire usage, making all the existing parts work in perfect harmony. He's a master at unlocking potential. So it does raise an interesting question, doesn't it? Could his, let's say, impending arrival, or perhaps even some early advisory input, have helped Aston Martin integrate those Imola updates more effectively, help them find that optimal configuration? Think about Red Bull. Remember Miami last year? After we stepped back a bit more, they struggled. Even Max looked unusually scrappy. You remember him hitting the ball hard. For Red Bull to struggle with a setup like that was quite telling. It really highlighted how important that configuration aspect is, maybe Newey's specific input on it. So yeah, it's plausible, definitely plausible, that even the idea of Newey, or some background influence, helped Aston Martin nail the setup with the new parts, like getting the most out of new tools.
Okay, so the picture's getting clearer now. We're looking at potentially 3 things working together. 1, a genuine, maybe small but real performance step in the car itself, especially traction. 2, a much better configuration, maybe helped consciously or subconsciously by the Newey factor, integrating those updates properly. And 3, that improved feel and predictability for Alonso, letting him push right to the absolute edge. It's like a perfect storm.
The trifecta, yeah. Sounds about right.
And look, we're not just speculating here. There's some solid engineering analysis from F1 blogs that backs this up. Kemi Calavia, one of their engineers, dives deep into telemetry and all that.
I saw that analysis. It's very thorough. And it pretty much confirms what we're saying. It points heavily to the floor changes introduced at Imola being the main driver. Those changes affected the whole middle and rear of the car engine cover, diffuser, beam wing, the lot. And crucially, the analysis says these changes, quote, allowed the car to be configured in a way much more in line with what the drivers might need, unlocking part of what they couldn't get out until now. So the physical parts enabled a better setup, which unlocked the performance and the driver feel. It all connects.
Exactly. That's the crucial link. The ground-up improvements enabled the better configuration, which then gave Fernando the confidence to push to the maximum, as he put it. It really seems to be that powerful combination. Car improvement, clever configuration, and driver confidence all feeding off each other.
Yeah, it's a great example of how complex F1 development is. But we should add a note of caution, perhaps. Looking ahead, we probably shouldn't expect this level of competitiveness everywhere. Fernando himself said after Canada that the track suited the car quite well. He even suggested they might suffer a bit more in Austria, which has different demands. So circuit specifics still play a big role.
Good point. And Silverstone is coming up soon, their home race. They usually bring updates there, so that'll be another big test, won't it? See if the progress continues on a different kind of circuit.
Definitely one to watch. And there's still that underlying issue, the sort of elephant in the room for Aston Martin. Tire management. Both Fernando and Andy Cowell have mentioned it. The AMR24 still seems quite hard on its tires, which means they often drop back in the race compared to qualifying. They can be quick over one lap, but sustaining that pace over a long stint, that's still a weakness they need to address to consistently fight at the front, or even the upper midfield.
True. That race pace deficit is still visible. But despite those challenges, you have to say, real green shoots are finally appearing at Aston Martin, aren't they? They seem to have found a positive development direction. The updates are working. And importantly, they're making Fernando Alonso happy, giving him a car he can work with. That's huge news, not just for this season, but especially looking toward those massive 2026 rule changes. Finding this path now, understanding their car now, That's invaluable experience.
Absolutely critical for the future, yeah.
So let's try and wrap this up for you. What we're seeing with Aston Martin's surge is not just one simple thing. It really appears to be this powerful synergy. A genuine, maybe modest, but definite car improvement, especially in key areas like traction. That's combined with a much smarter car configuration, unlocking the potential of those new parts. And layered on top of that is Fernando Alonso, feeling connected to the car again, allowing him to extract every single thousandth of a second. It's car, setup, and driver all clicking together.
It really does show just how incredibly complex modern Formula One is. It's never, ever just one silver bullet. It's always this nuanced interaction of dozens of factors constantly shifting.
Yeah, and hopefully this deep dive has shown you that being properly informed isn't just about knowing results. It's about understanding why things are happening, the connections underneath. So thinking about all this, what does it tell us about that ongoing, fascinating battle in F1? The balance between the driver's sheer skill and the ever-advancing technology of the car. Where does the balance lie right now?
Something for you to chew on until our next deep dive.